Hello, I'm Salty Dog, and what you're looking at is Loster, one of my first maps. I'm doing a remake of it now because texturing wise and terrain wise, I feel like I could do a much better job on it now. And I want to show you some of the texturing methods that I'll use on the remake. On the original Loster, I had one base layer. It was all grass, and on layer 2 I was using two textures, the dirt texture in Tallgrass Roads 1 and canyon wall texture, which you find on a lot of Savage maps. And I would just paint all my mountains with the canyon wall texture. For the remake, um, on layer 1 I have three textures, three or four textures here. And first I merged the height map, then I painted, a rough paint on my mountains with the textures that I wanted to use. So on the top of my mountains I wanted light grass, canyon wall, and then dirt around the bottom of the mountain. So on layer 1 I did a rough job of that, and then I went to layer 2 and I basically tied together all the seams where the textures weren't blended. This is an area that I haven't worked on yet. I really like all the new textures and props in the editor, and I have some very smart people to thank for that. I know I couldn't do that, but so I paint down layer 2 here on the to blend it on the mountain. Go to grass or whatever texture you're going to use as a second texture for the top of the mountains, if you're making a map that has a feel or look like this with a different texture on top of the mountains. And then start texturing that. And as you can see, it doesn't blend very well when layer 2 is right on top of layer 2. So what I want to do is I want to push down this texture, this broken texture here, down. I want to push it down an extra tile all the way across so that I can go back and erase. And what happens when I go back and erase is hopefully what I'm looking for here. Okay, not perfect, but you can see here where I've gotten these textures to sit a little closer to each other than they wanted to in the beginning. And then to fix, all these little splotchy areas here, I'll just get my canyon wall texture that I'm using out, fill those in, and cover the corners. So that's the process that I use to get my textures on top of each other like that. Over here you see I've got some cracked dirt. So layer 1, I've got it on layer 1 here on a lot of tiles. Really you only need to use one tile, but I use a lot of tiles, that way I'm sure that I do it right. Then on layer 2 you put it over that with your brush strength turned all the way up. And layer 3, You cover at least one tile with all three layers on the same texture, and then you can use layer 3 without it messing up. I don't know what layer 3 does on older computers. It seems like sometimes if the graphics card isn't too good, layer 3 still bugs out, but you can use layer 3 by doing this method that I just told you. I'm sure you may already be aware of it, but you can put as many different textures like that as you like to use. And so if you really wanted to go crazy, you could find another texture to sort of lightly brush on to these rocks. And then another texture, another grass texture to kind of make this a little more interesting. I could do that for you. I'll use my grass here. I'll come over here and show you what I'm talking about. My brush strength all the way up. I've covered that and cover that all up. And then go back with really light brush strength, and you can brush some light colored grass in there to lighten it up and just give it a more, give your map a little bit more depth, a little more, I don't know, diversity in the textures. So I hope this helps, and I hope you are able to use these tricks to make your map everything that you want it to be.